Saul then returns after he went out to Arabia for 3 years. He returns to Damascus and begins to present the fact that Jesus is the Messiah. And that's pretty incredible. Then around August, we shifted out of the book of Acts and we went into the book of James, a book that's oftentimes misunderstood because it's not really placed very well. It is for Christians. And in how we understand that is very important. The author of the book of James, he's the half-brother of Jesus. He was saved after Jesus was resurrected. So Matthew chapter 13, verse 55, we have James mentioned as one of his brothers. Over in Galatians chapter 1 and verse 19, we also have James mentioned here, the Lord's brothers. The letter was written around 46 AD. This is just before Acts 15, the council that we had there. He is writing to primarily Jews who have become Christians. So he's focusing on them. So when he says, to the 12 tribes, when he starts out in James to the 12 tribes, he's not talking about all of Israel, because he says to the 12 tribes who are scattered. The only ones who are scattered at this point is the church. But they are all Jews, because Gentiles really hadn't started to come into the church yet and become part of it. And we looked at that in detail. Then Acts chapter 15, where they're dealing with, well, should the Gentiles actually be circumcised and become ones who are obedient to the law? And they looked at the facts and they were like, no, that's not true. The example with Peter, where Peter goes to Cornelius's house, a Gentile, and he's talking about the resurrection of Christ, and all of a sudden they start speaking in tongues and the same signs. He's like, hey, they didn't get circumcised before that happened. Among what Paul was doing. It is written to the Hebrew Christians, like I said, they were facing trials of proving their faith. And we looked at a lot of this stuff, which was very important, especially when it comes to facing trials and the approval of your faith.